Welcome back, everybody. This Week in America. Thank you for joining us on the program. Our website, thisweekinamerica.us. Back with us on the program, Harold Kalve. His early training and work was in accounting. He was there for 15 years, then moved to the food industry as a fisherman and processor. Working his boat out of Seward, Alaska, his catch would be processed and distributed at a shop in Anchorage. With 30 years in the food business, he recently retired, and he's the author of the book Basic Food, A Theory of Nutrition. And Harold Kalve back with us on the program. Harold, great to have you back with us. Thank you for joining us again.
Thank you very much, Rick. It's my pleasure to be here.
The book is fascinating, and let's start with where you do in the book. And this is, there are so many diets out there, and literally every day you pick up a newspaper and you're hearing about some new fad diet. You hear people talk about literally obsessed with their food and losing weight, getting into shape. And you take a logical approach to this, and you say, let's go back to where we really didn't have this problem of obesity. Let's pick it up there. How far did you have to go back to find a public that wasn't consumed with obesity? And then we'll talk about what people were eating and how the diet has changed over the years. How far did you have to go back to find a time when we weren't really obsessed with obesity?
Well, of course I went back to prehistory, but when you look at the population more currently, like prior to World War II, obesity existed, but it wasn't a problem. Some people had issue with it, but it wasn't, certainly wasn't a crisis. But to understand it, you have to understand where we came from. And that means going back to Paleolithic times, particularly 40,000 years ago in Europe, when people assimilated to the foods that were available at that time, the new people that moved into Europe at that time. That becomes a starting point, and that's the place we know that food works. People were healthy then. They were classified as hunters and gatherers, but there was an enormous number of animals available for them to eat, and there were rather scarce sources of vegetables, fruits, and
Right.
grains. So that's where it all starts, and that's the standard that we have to judge everything else by.
And you sort of use that as a baseline. Harold Kalve, our guest on the program. The book is called Basic Food, A Theory of Nutrition. The book's available at Harold's website, which is Harold Kalve, that's KALVE.com. Book available at Amazon, information available, and you can link on to Harold's website and information on the book at our website, thisweekinamerica.us. That, like I say, is the baseline. And then you look at that and you see what foods we have added and the consequences. How has the diet changed, and what foods did we add in particular that have come up with negative consequences?
The negative consequences came right away when warming started in the ice period. After about 18,000 years ago, the world became as warm as it is now, and the tundra that supported all of these animals turned to forested areas and would not support the high number of animals. In addition, there was more rainfall and more snowfall, and winter killed huge number of animals. By 15, 14, 12,000 years ago, the animals could no longer be counted on as being supporting the population food needs.
Right.
That is when they started farming. 10,000 years ago, they were seriously into farming, and everything changed. The priorities for food was grain and vegetables. The meats were available as you could afford them, I suppose, but there were a lot more people then, and meat was very dear. People were expendable. The health of the people suffered. They had a shorter lifetime after 10,000 years ago, and they were assimilating now to a large number of new foods, vegetable type foods that became dependent on.
What happens now? I'm looking at this, and you talk about it in the book, the way, I mean, farmers are interested in making plants and animals bigger, faster, more profitable. So how much of a change, how much a part of the problem is the actual change in the food? Because the food now is different, and you talk about that in the book, Basic Food, The Theory of Nutrition. How much has food and plants, how much have they actually changed over the years because of how we're growing and feeding them?
A lot. There is hybridization, which occurs much more rapidly as people domesticate all of these plants. And you can't help not doing that. You're going to take the seeds from the best plants and propagate them, and the plant will improve. Whether it will improve in the eyes of the farmer, not necessarily in the eyes of the consumer. But in the modern world, with genetic engineering, this is a whole new dynamic, where not only are there lots of vegetables and foods that was not known before, but so many of them have been altered by massive genetic engineering, nuking them to get lots of variations, and that is an undefined problem. It is recognized by many people as a probable source of some of our problems.
Well, and I'm listening to a news story, it was a few weeks ago, where one company is now trying to get on the market basically genetically altered apples, where the apples don't turn color and they basically stay ripe. That's really not an apple in my mind, and I would be interested in sitting down and finding out, a little bit more on that, but I'm hearing about food being genetically modified. And you talk about, for all of us, we really need to find the food that's natural for us. And let's use yourself as an example. Harold Kalve, our guest on This Week in America, his book is called Basic Food, A Theory of Nutrition. Book's available at Amazon. It's a fascinating read. It's available at his website, haroldkalve.com, Kalve. Talk a little bit about how you go about finding food that's natural for you. When we get into unnatural foods, as you mentioned, that's where we started to get into trouble as humans. That's where we see plants and animals being altered. You did extensive study on this. Let's talk about you. How did you find out foods that were natural for you?
It seems to be that the proteins and fats have not been radically altered, and they're accepted by pretty much everybody. There are variations, of course, in beef. Some people will say this beef tastes better than that beef. But there's no indication that one is more nutritious or less nutritious than another one. Remember that the priority has to be fat. That's the fuel we run on. That's the number one need for people, for animals, and the second one is protein. The rest of it, the carbohydrates that are perhaps allowable, are the ones that we've used the longest time. We've assimilated to it. In the far past, there were very few species of vegetables that were available. Almost all of the ones that we use now, or many of the ones we use now, have been added. and the ones that have been added, we have not assimilated to. We should be scared of them. We should not use them. If I may, I'll relate the story. The doctor said I'm low on potassium, so I should have a banana and an orange every day. So I did that for 15 days. In 15 days, I gained 8 pounds.
Wow.
There were no other changes in my diet other than the banana and the orange. Those were enormously fattening to me. So I reasoned that this is not for me. I have to have a different way to solve my potassium level problem. So I quit it, and in a couple of weeks, the extra pounds went away again. But that's how fast something can be wrong for you. You can recognize that it is wrong for you.
So in your case, you did some experimentation to see what exactly was going to work for you and what would be harmful for your genetic makeup.
Yes, when I started writing the book, I had to make sure that this worked, that there wasn't any downsides to following this kind of a regimen. So I started about 8 years ago, eliminating certain classifications of foods. And the ones on top of my list were corn and potatoes. They were recently added to food supply and probably not assimilated well. So I stopped them. I lost a few pounds. The next came grains, and I stopped some grains to start with, relying on some that I thought I would continue with, like spelt instead of wheat. And then I did that for a while, and then I eliminated more vegetables, more fruits, and eventually all grains, all vegetable, all fruits, and that's where I'm at now. I don't take any of them.
Yeah, because some people say, yeah, I should eliminate some things, and boy, fruits and vegetables, that needs to be the main part of my diet. What do you have on a daily basis? Today, for example, what did you have for breakfast, and what will you have for lunch?
I had bacon and eggs for breakfast. The grease from the bacon is still in the pan. I'm going to use it to fry some hamburgers for my lunch, which is the main meal of my day. Later in the afternoon, I'll have some hors d'oeuvres without crackers. I'll have some sausages and smoked salmon and some pickled herrings. I'll have some cream cheese with that, but no crackers. And then before I go to bed, I'll have a bowl of ice cream.
Now, that sounds like my kind of diet. Most people would listen to that and go, wait, these are foods they've told me to stay away from. Let's go back to talking about fat. You mentioned that fat is really important. We talked about this the last time. So you don't worry about fat in your diet, because so many people are counting fat grams, and we just stop when we get to a certain level.
We should forget about counting calories and counting carbs. We should only be concerned with our traditional inherited foods. The most important food is fat. That's what we use to run on. We cannot get fat on fat. It doesn't work that way. People don't get fat. People can only get fat on carbs, on the fat they manufacture themselves using insulin. They process vegetable matters as sugars, douse it with insulin, and make fat in every cell of your body. But that's the only way you can gain weight.
And talk about your health. I mean, we've discussed that you have the banana and you have the orange. You gained weight. You got bacon and eggs for breakfast, and you're doing fine. Talk about the state of your health, where you are.
My doctor says I'm the best 75-year-old in his practice. I have the best health, and I believe that. I don't feel any aches and pains. I have no serious deficiencies. I take a supplement for my potassium because I used to have some leg cramps. But all the markers on the blood work is better than it has been in the past.
Harold Kalve, our guest on the program. Harold's website is haroldkalve.com, Kalve.com. The book is called Basic Food, A Theory of Nutrition. It's an excellent book, a lot of great ideas in there. It's not a recipe book, it's an idea book, and we'll bring some things that you've been thinking about and trying to figure out that proper diet, bring it into perspective. A couple minutes left in the program. We talked about this last time, and it's so important. You point out that obesity is not a problem of excess or weak wills, because so many people will put on weight and then it leads to a state of depression. They feel that there's something wrong with them. And you're saying that's really not the case.
No, it isn't. Obesity really is a deprivation issue. And the way it works, I believe, is that when you're deprived of something, of some nutrient or of food generally, there is a signal coming from your unconscious brain that says you have to be hungry, you have to eat. So you eat, and you eat what is available, and that is about what you call a balanced meal of some meat and some vegetables and some fruits. But you have not perhaps had enough of fats and protein during that meal. So you continue to have a hunger and you overeat and you start gaining weight. But now you are approaching what is a malnutrition state. You can be starving in one sense and overweight and overfed in another sense. And there are very, very clear examples of that happening. Anemic people that are fat. So the lack of adequate nutrition sets up a hunger that you satisfy by eating too many carbs, and you gain too much weight, and you're still hungry. You're still hungry for more.
All of this is in the book. Like I said, a fascinating read. A lot of great ideas here. Basic Food, A Theory of Nutrition. Harold Kalve, our guest on the program. I'll take a minute here at the end. I mentioned and just threw in there the apple that's genetically modified, and this apple is going to be great because you can cut it, slice it, it's not going to turn brown. You can keep it forever. If somebody gave you a bushel of genetically modified apples, will you eat them?
No, I would not. I would feed it to the pigs, and then I'd eat the pigs.
Okay, that answers that. I thought I got an expert on the program. I'm going to ask him what he would do in this situation. The website is very simple, haroldkalve.com, Kalve.com. The book is Basic Food, A Theory of Nutrition. Harold, thank you for joining us once again on the program. A great pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you very much, Rick.
And enjoy your burgers for lunch and your cream cheese later on today. Like I said, that's my kind of diet, and a bowl of ice cream before you go to bed. Harold, thank you for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're listening to This Week in America, website thisweekinamerica.us.